But first up, though, as I have been promoting during the week with our news show on a Friday, afternoons and early evenings are a favourite time for our politicians to bury bad news, to sneak out a media release they hope will escape our attention or miss the Saturday morning newspapers. Indeed, I had a phone call this week from a very senior former cabinet minister who saw our promo this week and laughed at our observation. He also confessed, by the way, to having done that very thing a few times himself. I won't name him. Fridays is also a time for reflection on the news events of the week and what are shaping up as the key political events likely to unfold in the week ahead. Now, you'd have to say, and I think everyone would agree, 2024 is going to be a huge year in politics. It will start with a federal by-election in the Melbourne seat of Dunkley. We learned today that that will be held on Saturday the 2nd of March. Labor is expected to retain Dunkley with the tragic passing of the former member and popular local politician Peter Murphy. But it was a coalition seat up until 2019 and based around the southeastern suburb of Frankston. I can tell you cost of living will be the huge issue there. This is going to be a massive litmus test for both the Prime Minister and for Peter Dutton. It'll be a blow for one of them and a confidence boost for the other. Now, outside of politics on Fridays, we have some great new regulars to bring a fresh perspective to your end of the week, starting tonight with the best connected crime reporter in New South Wales, the Daily Telegraph's Mark Morey. He'll join us tonight and he joins the team on a regular basis. Now, I spoke to Mark earlier today before the news broke that the corrupt former Sydney detective Roger Rogerson was on death's door. We're told life support was switched off today by his family following a brain aneurysm that he suffered in jail last night. Rogerson was serving life for the murder of an Asian student, Jamie Gow, in 2014. I'll talk to Mark next week about the Rogerson that he knew. But tonight, Mark tells us Sydney is awash with crime gangs dealing cocaine, and he explains how contract killers can earn more than $1 million for a successful hit on a target. It's a world most of us know nothing about. Former Queensland Premier Campbell Newman also joins us as a regular, joins the team, and who better to analyse politics in the Sunshine State in an election year? Well, down south in Victoria, with the state struggling to recover after the mess left by former Premier Daniel Andrews, we have on board the Lib's Sam Groth, who'll join us in the studio. Now, Sam is a shadow spokesman on youth, tourism and sport. Well, we have a youth crime problem here. We're in the grip of a youth crime emergency, so I'll talk to Sam about that. Melbourne CBD is turning tourists away at an alarming rate, and the Australian Open is refusing to recognise Australia Day. So who better to have on board? I'll talk to Sam shortly. And in coming weeks, Australia's podcast investigator and multi-award-winning journalist Hedley Thomas will be with us. Plus, I'll be joined by Australia's #1 newspaper cartoonist, Mark Knight. I look forward to joining you each Friday night at this time. I hope you enjoy the new Steve Price show. But just on the booze tax issue, I want to go back to that briefly. I was lucky enough to be in Japan for 10 days earlier this month. Now, in any restaurant, bar or supermarket, you could buy a beer for $5. Let me repeat that, beer for $5. That's a stubby of Sapporo or Asahi beer, $5. You head to a bottle shop and a single malt whiskey you would pay $110 for in Australia was priced at somewhere around $50 or $60. Japan has one of the lowest alcohol taxes in the world, and I must say I saw not one incident of public drunkenness. Compare those prices to Australia, where, as I said, a pint of beer is about to hit $15. Now, News.com ran a story last year showing that the Stain Hotel in Manly was charging $14.20 for a schooner of Stone and Wood beer. Now, sure, that's a boutique beer, but that's highway robbery. Now, I looked back a bit. I love a bit of nostalgia. And you know what you paid in 1970 for a schooner of beer? You paid 86 cents. Now, adjusted for today's prices, that'd be about $5.58, not $14. Now, governments are taking the you-know-what to beer drinkers, and it's about to get worse with a February excise increase next month. So much for Labor looking after the workers, the blue-collar voters. Beer, petrol, smokes and food are all through the roof. Soon, you will need to be on a six-figure salary just to go to the pub. I paid $13 for a half a glass of red wine at my local pub steak night last night. Now, federal budgets used to generate headlines, beer smokes up, But of course, governments wised up and introduced booze and tobacco indexation increases, and they go up automatically. And as usual, it's the average folk who suffer.